Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, and of course, continuing on, reviewing Halloweenish films for this year. And that's right. The second Halloweenish film I'm reviewing is none other than Friday the 13th, the very original one that started it all. And one thing about this, that I was a bit disappointed in, and which I'll get to when I get to it, But of course, yeah, the story. A group of camp counselors trying to reopen a summer camp called Crystal Lake, which has a grim past, are stalked by a mysterious killer. Yep. So this is where it all begins, and ever since, the movie first takes place in the, I think, 1958, yeah, where, the first two people were killed, and of course, present time, which obviously being in 1980, yeah, basically, the camp being reopened, it's opened again, and, new campers there. So, with the cast, from, Alice, played by Adrene King, if I'm saying the first name right, and then Marcy, played by Janine Taylor, Annie, played by Robbie Morgan, and Jack, played by a young Kevin Bacon. Yeah, so I think about, I can't remember. It's like with this and A Nightmare on Elm Street, hey, Nightmare on Elm Street had Johnny Depp, so I probably, these two movies kicked their careers into high gear, I guess you could say. Just about, I guess. Kevin Bacon, I really can't remember. Then there was also Bill, played by Harry Crosby, Brenda, played by Laurie Bartram, and Ned, played by Mark Nelson, Steve Christie, played by Peter Brower, if I'm saying that right, Rex Everhart plays the truck driver, and, Barry and Claudette, Barry played by Willie Adams, and Deborah S. Hayes plays Claudette, and they were the two in 1958 that were the first two to be killed. So one thing about this movie is, even if you have never seen the Friday the 13th films, you would at least know Jason Voorhees. You just know who he is with that weapon he has, the ski mask, everything to him. You know what he looks like. Just like, say, if you have never seen Nightmare on Elm Street, you know who Freddy Krueger is. The same goes for Pennywise, Michael Myers, you name it. So you would think that Jason would actually appear in this film. Well, technically, no, not the Jason that we know. He never appears in this. That was one disappointment that I had, I mean, I'm not saying this movie's bad, No, it was good. For what it was, even though it never had, Jason, who we all know, Jason does appear, but this was when we see him out in the lake, and, we don't see him with the ski mask or anything. He has a different appearance, and seeing how this is the first of the Friday the 13th films, yeah, and, throughout the film, because one by one, each of the campers are killed, and, even, say, one of the campers, pulling, being the goof off, or even, say, Kevin Bacon's character and one of the girls, I forget which one it was, but, they're kind of, the couple, and, even at one point, even when it's storming, they have sex, and, as the camera pans up, because it's a bunk bed, we see that one of the other campers was killed, and they don't know it. And after, Kevin Bacon and the girl, they have sex, well, Kevin Bacon, it's a bit disappointing. He gets killed, well, seeing how this was in his early career, and the same goes for Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street, Kevin Bacon, God, it was very gruesome, the killer was under the bed and grabbed it, did this or whatever, and then it went through his neck. Ugh, just, yeah. Yeah. And, the last surviving camper is Alice. And, You know, when I was watching this film, I was thinking Jason is probably there. We see him through his point of view, like say when he picks up one of the arriving campers, which I believe is I believe it's Brenda, yeah. And you know, because you're seeing it oh no, it's not Brenda, sorry. Which one was it? Well, let me see. No, well, I believe Brenda was the one that was having sex with Jack. But the other girl that was killed, oh, and also Ari Lemon was the first actor to portray Jason. So, let me guess. Like, it's Annie, yeah. Annie was picked up by this anonymous driver, like this, who you never see, and you think it's Jason, you know, and like, oh, like nobody, like anybody who comes face to face with Jason, like, they don't question his appearance, but, well, I think you start to figure out, and it's even revealed, so yeah. Annie was one of the first ones to be killed, and, yeah, and like say runs away from the vehicle, and eventually like somewhere in the woods, like the killer, gets Annie and slices her by the neck. And I think at near the end of the movie, you do see her once again, but of course her dead body. As I said, Alice being one of the last surviving campers and the only one who does not get killed and does defeat the killer. And who is the killer? Well, it's none other than Mrs. Voorhees, Jason's mother. We all know about Jason's mother and such. Yeah, and Mrs. Voorhees, played by Betsy Palmer. Yes, I know the name Betsy Palmer. Of course, like, she'd be best known for, well, she was in some of the other Friday the 13th films, and Mr. Roberts. Anyways, and so she's Mrs. Voorhees. Well, you think that, okay, she's innocent and, horrified on what's happened, and she knows about the whole thing of Crystal Lake and how the camp counselors would just reopen the place. A bad idea to reopen it. And talking about a little bit about when her son, Jason, drowned in the Crystal Lake. But it turns out that, well, Mrs. Voorhees is technically the killer, and she's psychotic. Kill, mommy, kill. Like, she's talking to herself, Like, if Jason were to say that. Even, like, say, Alice running around the camp, running away from Mrs. Voorhees, and, and even, like, say, Alice using a frying pan, and then eventually using the weapon that Mrs. Voorhees was using. What is the name of that weapon again and that Jason uses? Please let me know in the comment section. I forget the name of that type of weapon. But of course she uses it. She uses it to slice her head. And this was kind of strange. Like, her hands are still kind of moving and such. No. When a head gets chopped off, you're dead instantly. Just 0 seconds. But anyways, but it's a movie, so, So, of course, all ends well, at least. Like, the next morning, like, Alice had gotten into a boat and is out in the lake, and police officers have arrived. They're calling out her name, and, well, she is awake, but then at one point, like, I knew something was coming. It was Jason that rose out of the water. He was scary looking. But then Alice, she's okay, like, she's in the hospital, and the question is, did that actually happen? Did Jason actually rise out of the water, like, grabbing her, or was she just hallucinating, or just a dream? Who knows? Even, like, the officer that, like helped, I think it was Sergeant Tyranny. It was this guy, played by played by Ron Carroll. So, like, he was one of the police officers that, saved Alice. And there was also the doctor, played by Ken L. Parker, and the operator, Mary Rocco. Yeah, that's the actress's name. Some of the other characters, like, there was like, two at this gas station that, that Annie asked for directions and help to get to Camp Crystal Lake. Like, there was Sandy, played by Sally Ann Golden, and Trudy, played by Dorothy Cobbs. So, yeah. And then there was Crazy Ralph. Oh, yeah, Crazy Ralph. I can't forget to mention Crazy Ralph. Crazy Ralph was warning the campers, of what was to come. You're doomed. However the way he said it. And there was also Officer Dorf, played by Ron Milky. I think I got that right. And then, yeah, so... And then, of course, like, the last shot of Friday the 13th is one last shot of the lake. And I was thinking, is Jason going to pop up? But nope. You think something like Jason's going to pop out of the water, but nope. Just fades to black, and that's how the movie ends. No appearance of Jason. But again, as I said earlier, that's just how the movie turned out. So, but obviously, probably by part 2, we most likely get an appearance of Jason. So, yeah, I don't know, but pretty much, yeah. No spoilers. Do not spoil part 2 for me, okay? Alright, but with all that being said, Friday the 13th, you know what? It's good. Even though I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't get the appearance of Jason, that's another thing. I was thinking that maybe it would be a bit similar to, how in Halloween, how Michael Myers popped up here and there until we got a good look at him, like, halfway into the movie. And the same thing goes for Freddy Krueger, how he appeared and popped up in the first Nightmare on Elm Street film. Something like that should have happened in Friday the 13th. Don't you think? And you know what I mean? That would have been great. But again, it's how the movie turned out. And to think, yeah, this came out a year after, I should say, Halloween. And then, after this movie, a few years later, we would get A Nightmare on Elm Street. And three of the most iconic horror figures, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and Freddy Krueger. Anyways, and how do I rate Friday the 13th? Good question. Well, it's on my mind. I'll give this 8 out of 10 stars. 8 out of 10 stars for Friday the 13th. It's good for what it is, and even though, like, as I said, Jason not appearing, but again, it's how the movie turned out, so it's what it is, But anyways, what about you guys? What did you think of Friday the 13th? If you've ever seen it, what'd you think of my review? Leave comments, and give this review a like as always. So again, with that being said, thank you very much for watching. Again, yeah, okay, counting the fingers. 8 out of 10 stars for Friday the 13th. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Friday the 13th. More reviews coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. And I'll see you guys in the next video/review. Take care. Peace out. And of course, continuing on reviewing Halloweenish films.